Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon on assignment tonight in Chicago.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Does that assignment involve box seats or a luxury suite? Just asking.
Great seats, Tony, great seats, but I'm outside. I'm outdoors, and it's going to be a game time. First pitch temperature of like 57 with some wind.
That's terrible. No, you shouldn't even go. No, don't even go. If you can't get indoors in a suite, do they know who you are? You're Michael Wilbon. Come on now.
Happy to be where I am. Happy to be where I am.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Yankees are out. Bill Belichick is not. And Booger McFarland joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with the two National League teams that avoided elimination last night, the Phillies and your Cubs. The Phillies got 2 bombs from Kyle Schwarber on their way to a rout of the Dodgers, 8-2, and your Cubs got all 4 of their runs in the bottom of the first inning and then held on for dear life to narrowly beat Milwaukee 4-3. Wilbon, what do you make of how they did it, and which team do you think is more likely to win again tonight?
Tony, I love seeing, even if I wasn't skin all in on one of these games, the one here at Wrigley Field tonight, 8:08 Eastern, I want to see 5 games. I want to see them go for drama, and I really want to see the Cubs make Milwaukee go back and be the best team in baseball. They've been the best team in baseball. They were certainly that when they were, 36-12 or whatever they were for a while there. Make them be the best team in baseball by winning tonight. I just don't know if the Cubs will score enough runs. Matthew Boyd is going again, this time on regular rest. That bodes better, if not well, for the Cubbies. Look, if Philadelphia can hit the baseball, and we know Schwarber, Tony, that home run only ever, I think, really Stargell. Yeah. I mean, the first one, my God, that
8,000 feet. 8,000
can
feet.
be, it can threaten the opposition. Yeah. I know professional athletes will say they're not intimidated. BS. They can be intimidated, and Schwarber's capable. Now, I think the Dodgers will bounce back, but I think both or either of these series, it wouldn't surprise me to see either one go to 5, and I don't think it would surprise you either.
Well, I mean, my first inclination here is to say that neither of these teams has a good chance, but on reflection, looking at what Schwarber did last night, looking at the explosion of the Philadelphia bats last night, and as you know, I respect that team a lot. Yeah. So I would lean a little bit to the Phillies. They have a starting pitcher tonight, who I think is a really good. Chris Sanchez is out there tonight. And let me get his numbers. 13-5 this year with a 2.50 ERA. Now, Glasnow is going for the Dodgers. He's been hurt for much of the year, and his postseason numbers are terrible, Mike. 5.51 ERA and 2-6 record. And then it's possible that the top of the Phillies order comes out of this deep sleep that they were in when they were 2 for 21 the first 2 games, because you had Schwarber with 2 home runs. You had Trey Turner, I think he had 3 hits and drove in 2.
It was 7 for 13,
and Bryce Harper had 2 hits and a walk.
Yeah.
2 hits
Opposite
and a walk.
field.
They are probably as good as the top of the Dodgers order when they're, all things being equal, with Ohtani and Betts and Freeman. So I kind of sort of think they have a chance. I just want to mention one thing quickly. I got very excited when I found out that Clayton Kershaw was going to pitch last night, work in the bullpen. I had no idea it would be that terrible. No idea.
I think he should be starting tonight instead of Glasnow.
3 walks.
They should have turned that around.
Yeah.
Kershaw should be starting
runs
tonight, not coming out of the bullpen last night, to me.
Mike, I don't know if we're ever going to see him again. I don't know now if we're ever going to see him again. That was a bad inning.
Well, these playoffs are going to move on without the Yankees, too. The Blue Jays eliminated the Yanks in last night's game 4, as New York starter Cam Schlittler could not replicate the dominance he showed against the Red Sox in the wild card series. Tom, where does that outcome put each of these teams?
Well, it puts Toronto in the ALCS, and I'll get to them in a second. I want to start with the Yankees, and I want to talk about the notion that people want to fire Aaron Boone because his playoff record at the moment is 25-27. Aaron Boone started managing that team in 2018, and since he's been there, they have the 3rd most wins in baseball, right? I mean, my feeling is that Aaron Boone knows what he's doing. They got 94 wins this year, which is the same as Toronto. They get into the playoffs without their best pitcher, Garrett Cole, throwing 1 pitch all year.
Right.
They lose a Cy Young guy. They make the playoffs with 94 wins, right? And then they beat the Red Sox in the wild card series. I know it's a disappointment that they did not beat Toronto, but I think 95% of Yankees fans, given the choice, would take 20 losses to Toronto to beat the Red Sox once. They had a chance last night. They left 10 people on. The 6th inning, the 7th inning, the 8th inning, the 9th inning, they had runners in scoring position. They only brought one in. I don't blame Aaron Boone for that.
Tony,
I don't blame him for that.
I'm with you right down the line. This is not 1927, where Ruth and Gehrig get to play a regular season and advance straight to the World Series. Baseball decided to add 9 layers of playoffs, and you're not going to win every year when you're playing teams that have the same or close to the same resources as you. They were in the World Series last year, where they played a team with every bit the resources, the Dodgers, and they didn't win. Toronto is a big market, rich team with star players, Vlad Guerrero.
Yep.
Come on now.
Yep.
The Dodgers aren't some homecoming opponent. People are idiots. Don't get rid of Aaron Boone to bring in who's going to do what differently. That's silly.
Let me just make this point. I saw 3 different friends of mine today who said to me with glee they were happy the Yankees were out because the Yankees spend so much money and Toronto doesn't. I said, do not confuse Toronto with Tampa Bay. Okay?
That's right.
The Yankees are the 3rd payroll, and Toronto is the 5th payroll. This is not the rich against the poor. It is not. No. Let's move to college football and the sound of one shoe dropping for Bill Belichick. North Carolina and Belichick last night released a joint statement pledging mutual commitment to the Carolina football program. And then the Carolina AD, Bubba Cunningham, said Belichick had, quote, the full support of the school. The team is 2-3, and there was talk bubbling up that Belichick might be bought out. Wilbon, what does this statement of mutual commitment say to you?
It didn't say anything to me. I don't know what it means. People put out statements now. Then a week later, somebody's going to social media. It's all just, I'm going to go to one of my favorite words. It's all junk. I just don't know what it is Bill Belichick wants to do. We're rarely let inside his real thoughts. Like, is he embarrassed by this? Is this catching him totally by surprise? There were college football observers, close observers, who thought this was going to be a failed experiment anyway, and so far it looks like they're right. Would Belichick walk away after a year? Suppose they turn it around and win 4 straight games at the end of the season and they get going. Can he build a program? Or is NIL a transfer portal and $2 million freshman quarterbacks? Is that all beyond Bill Belichick? I don't know what it means, Tony. I'm fascinated. Yeah. I refuse to so far assign it meaning.
So last night I thought a lot about this because I was texting back and forth with a friend of mine who knows, he's very conversant with the college scene in the state of North Carolina. And he said he had heard they were coming for him. The Sharks were coming for him. Get rid of him right now. And I wrote back and I said, if that were to happen, I think it would be awful. I think it would be a terrible stain on Bill Belichick's career. I think it would bleed into everything he had done in the NFL if that were to happen right now. And I said, and I think that would be unfair. And I pointed out, I'm not a fan of Belichick's personally. I'm not. But he and North Carolina got into this together. They ought to get out of this together. I don't think you just dump the guy right away like this. And I had previously talked to someone who really knew the North Carolina team well. And he said after they lost to TCU, he said, don't expect anything this year. They don't have any talent. You cannot judge Belichick for 2 years. And that was what people said about Deion going to Colorado. You just cannot make an immediate judgment. You can't do it. Woo. But Belichick's behavior, to be fair, recently has been, and I'm being charitable here, odd. It's been a little bit odd, right? I mean, the stuff with Kraft and the Patriots and, and saying they're the 33rd NFL team. Come on, you're getting crushed. Here's the scores, 120-33 in the 3 Power 4 groups. I was going to say Power 5, but the Pac-12 doesn't exist. Let's take a break. Coming up, why is the Ravens defense struggling so much? We're going to ask Booger McFarland.
We'll also ask him whether number 1 Ohio State or number 3 Oregon is either vulnerable this weekend, either both. Tony, North Carolina didn't know jack about football.
Tea, part of Happy Hour.
Week 6 of the NFL kicks off tonight, which makes it a perfect time for a visit from our great friend ESPN NFL and college football analyst Booger McFarland wearing a golf shirt from Garden City Golf Club, my boyhood home of Long Island. Let's start with this. Tonight's game, Thursday night game, Eagles and Giants. What will you be watching for in this game, Booger?
First thing I'm going to look at, I'm going to see what book A.J. Brown's going to be reading. The second thing, I'm going to see what kind of glasses Big Dom has on. And then thirdly, how many times do they hand the football to Saquon Barkley? Like, that's got to be the question du jour. Understand this. The Philadelphia Eagles are a running football team. And for Saquon Barkley to carry the ball so few times last week, I think there has to be an answer for that. I think there was an overcorrection last week getting the football to the wide receivers. So this week, I think there's going to be an overcorrection getting back to doing what they normally do. And that's running the football with Saquon Barkley, running the ball with Jalen Hurts. Let's see if we can get Jalen Carter a sack because he's been a disappointment so far. I want to see this team play a complete football game because if they don't, the New York Football Giants have a defensive line led by Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Sexy Dexy Lawrence. They can get after the Eagles up front if they don't play. And this game could be a fourth quarter game when I really think nobody across America thinks it's going to be.
Let's talk about a team you had pegged early on, Booger. The 1-4 Baltimore Ravens are playing host to the Rams this week. Their defense has been dreadful. You were on this week 1. Are you surprised? Is this bad even though you saw it coming? And what in the world can they do to change it?
Yeah, I'm surprised it's this bad. Like, John Harbaugh's a really good coach. I love Zach Orr, the defensive coordinator. I know what they're trying to do, but somewhere between the practice field and the game field, it's not getting done. And they try to go out and they try to fix it. They signed Jair Alexander, to kind of cover up the back end, but their pass defense is the one that's really struggling. I just know this. I know there's a sign in that building. It says, play like a Raven. And that sign has been there for a long time. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, all the guys that have come through there play like a Raven. Right now, I think it's a mentality because they're not playing like a Raven. Like sometimes you can throw the X's and O's out the window. Hey guys, I'm gonna roll the ball out there. We gotta roll our sleeves up and we gotta go fight. I wanna see some fight in this team because if they don't fight, they're gonna be 1-5. And as our buddy John King on CNN says, hey, the math is not gonna add up because at some point, if you're 1-5, that's 6 games. You only got 11 left. And if the math don't add up for you getting into the postseason, then I'm afraid it may be late, very, very early for this team.
Booker, let's move to college football because I am completely, as a son of the Midwest, fired up for a couple of games this week. Number 7, Indiana, out at number 3, Oregon, and of course, number 1, Ohio State. At number 17, Illinois, 2 huge Big Ten games. Do you have Indiana or Illinois, or both, really being ready to score an upset Saturday afternoon?
Well, definitely not Illinois. The last time we saw them in a big game, Indiana hung 63 on them, and they probably could have put 80. But when it comes to Indiana, we know how we talk about Kirk Cignetti. Hey, if you don't know who he is, as we always say, just Google him. He's got this quarterback named Fernando Mendoza. I think he's the best quarterback in America right now, and if the draft were to happen today, and the team at the top needed a quarterback, he'd be the number 1 pick in the draft. And so anytime you take a quarterback like that on the road to Autzen Stadium, you get an opportunity. And so for Indiana, I think there's a lot at stake. I think they can compete because the last couple times we've seen them, Mike, on a big stage, think about this. We saw them against Ohio State last year. The game was not as close as the score was. We saw them against Notre Dame in the playoff. They didn't really match up. So this is the 3rd time on a national stage we get to see Kirk Cignetti in Indiana see if they can compete with the big boys. I think they hang for a little while. I just don't know if they can pull the upset because I think Oregon is that physical and that fast. But I tell you what, I'm sure going to have fun watching this team because I know they're going to fight for the head coach because he demands that.
We will get you out of here on this, and we will stay with college football. In the SEC, now 8th-ranked Alabama is at unbeaten and 14th-ranked Missouri, which at least has a great journalism program. Which way are you leaning in this one?
Well, if we were talking about journalism, I'd probably lean Northwestern over Mizzou, but that's a different conversation for me and Wilbon.
Knows what he's
as far as it
about,
pertains, as far as it pertains to this game, here's what I'll say. I don't really know what to expect out of Missouri. Like, I don't think, Missouri really hasn't really been tested and drug in the deep end of the pool. They played South Carolina, but I don't know if I'd put them up there with the upper echelon. But I do know this, they're undefeated. And that gives them confidence going against Alabama. And they got the best running back in Hardy in the SEC. They got this quarterback named Bo Pribula, Penn State transfer. He's a dual threat quarterback. And I know this, Eli Drinkwitz is a very good coach. But it's amazing what's happened since week 1. Everybody and their mother put dirt on Alabama after they lost to Tallahassee. All they've done is come back, beat Georgia. They've come back, they've beaten Vanderbilt. And I think right now, Ty Simpson is playing as good as he's played his entire career. And so here's the thing about this game, though, guys. Think about this. It's an 11 a.m. start. Not noon, but 11 a.m. So imagine eating bacon and eggs for a pregame meal. That's a little different. Trust me. From the South, that's not usually what we eat for pregame meal. We're on steak and spaghetti, trying to carve up a little bit. Follow me here, Tony. So when you're trying to play a football game at 11 a.m. off bacon and eggs, and you're not used to it because Missouri's used to this, I'm just saying, tricky things happen in Como. I think this game is going to be closer than the experts think, as Lee Corso would say, but I do like Alabama pulling it out at the very end.
Booger, as always, it's a great pleasure. Thank you so much.